A huge part of negotiation is, of course, knowing how to ace your interview in such a way that the company is thinking, I must have this person on my team. And let's face it, many of us walking out of an interview are thinking something like, I wish I could have said that better, or I cannot remember how that landed because I felt like I was rambling all over the place. You know, you've had that experience. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Somehow, even though you prepared, your answer didn't land. Now, why does that happen? It's usually not because you didn't prepare. It's because the preparation left something out. The answers still remain vague and unmemorable. You said what you did, but you didn't connect it to what mattered. At the level that we're performing at, if you're a high performer, the issue, of course, is not a lack of skill. It's really a lack of clarity. So clarity is what gets you offers. Vague answers do not. Well, what I want to cover today is an easy to follow formula. We know nobody gets hired for listing responsibilities, right? You get hired for owning outcomes. So I'm going to give you a way to talk about your work in a way that makes everything crystal clear. It connects the dots for the interviewer and the hiring team. Because again, clarity is what gets you hired, clarity of your impact. Before I dive into the formula, let me talk about some of the interview answers. Sometimes when I've talked to prospective clients, I hear things like, I manage cross-functional teams, I collaborated with stakeholders, I ensured timely delivery of projects. Now, these are all great, but these are not stories. These are basically lines from the job descriptions describing what anyone in the role is supposed to do. So interviewers, most of them, let's face it, probably wrote that job description. They don't want to hear that repeated back to them. The goal is to show how you made things better, faster, smarter, more profitable, more sustainable. Now, if your answer could be copied and pasted from a job posting, then you're not being memorable, and it's definitely not persuasive. Let's talk about the STAR method, because usually at this time, people will ask me, well, I used the STAR method, so that should have worked, but it didn't. Why? We've all used it. Let's just acknowledge it because that's what we've been taught. But the problem is that most people spend too much time on the situation and task and barely get to the result. The result is a quick afterthought because they feel like they're about to lose their audience because they've spent so much time on the situation and task. And then the action usually becomes a to-do list. I collaborated, I executed, I followed up. And like I said in the beginning, the result often gets buried or it does not connect to what the business actually cared about. Bottom line, STAR is not persuasive. It's not memorable, or it is being overused. So everybody is using it and you're not standing out. So this is why I teach a better framework, one that usually pulls out your stories out of that job duty task mode and puts them into this value mode where you're showing your impact and you're being very, very clear about it. What is this framework that I teach? I teach VIBE. Before we dive into what the acronym is, what hiring managers are looking for. Did you understand the business challenge? Did you lead? Did you influence? Did the work that you did just push papers off your desk, or did you actually move the needle for the business? And then finally, very importantly, can you think like a future leader? And so that's where VIBE comes in. What was the business situation or strategic driver? That's V. Was something broken? Was it urgent? Was it high risk? What was the company trying to do? Was it trying to scale, pivot, recover, grow? And why did this matter? That's what the V needs to illustrate. Initiative. What did you lead, build, change, or drive? It's not just tasks. It's focus on what you initiated, not participated. You have to show ownership. This helps the interviewer see that you're not just checking off on a task list, you're actually steering outcomes. Business impact is the B. What changed? How did the business improve? You have to use numbers here, cost savings, time savings, tangible outcomes. Growth is another metric. If you don't have metrics and numbers, use movement. Reduced, improved, accelerated. It needs to have that leadership oomph to it. And that's exactly what hiring managers care about, proof that you've made a difference. And I would use as many numbers here as possible to show that you move the needle. And then finally, E, enterprise fit. More and more companies are looking for leaders who have this enterprise mindset. You need to demonstrate how your work actually impacted the bigger picture. How did your work support your team's goals, cross-functional goals, customer impact, company strategy? Did it unlock growth? Did it reduce risk? Did you scale the business? This is the most overlooked piece, and definitely the STAR method does not include it. And this is where the deal gets closed. And this is where often what closes the deal. You're showing that you understand how your work fits into that giant machine of your corporation or your organization. So when you shift from describing your job to showing your value. It makes your impact clear. It makes your story memorable. Let's think about a project leader example. Project delivery timelines were inconsistent across departments. I was tasked to improve delivery, speed, and visibility. The actions I took improved the dashboard, conducted stakeholder meetings, and projects were delivered on time or before budget. However, Vibe is going to take it next level. We had 40 plus active projects with unclear prioritization. Our cross-functional teams were close to burnout. I introduced a portfolio governance initiative for standardized intake and launched an executive-facing health dashboard. Business impact: improved on-time delivery to 91%, reduced duplicated work, and increased transparency for leadership. This freed up $1.2 million in budget and positioned PMO as a strategic partner versus a supporting function. See how you have really taken the STAR methodology of situation, task, action, and results to the next level, where you're showing that you're a leader who understands what drives business forward. Then the next question people will ask is, can I use Vibe for any questions or only certain questions? And my answer to that is, the great news is that you can use the same Vibe formula for any question. So most people will freeze when they get tough questions like, tell me about a failure, or how do you handle conflict? What was the business goal or high stakes situation? Set the scene. What did you do or try to do that didn't go as planned? That's your initiative. Business impact. What were the consequences? Be honest, but don't exaggerate. Enterprise fit. What did you learn? What changed after that? How did it make you better for future projects? So an example of this could be, I aim to roll out a new pricing model in Q2 to help boost our profitability margins. I own the project plan, but I underestimated resistance from sales. We launched without full buy-in and adoption stalled. I regrouped, built a cross-functional feedback loop, and reintroduced a phased launch, eventually increasing margin by 600 basis points. That taught me the value of strict stakeholder alignment early. And here's the important part. I've made it a non-negotiable step ever since. Okay, so this is where you're saying, I now know what can challenge a project and now have incorporated it into my workflow. So if there's one thing I want you to leave with today, it's this, that your impact is your superpower. It talks about, if you've been getting a lot of interviews and then getting ghosted or not moving on to the final offer, it's usually because you describe tasks instead of impact. Vibe makes your value visible. So what I want you to do is take a moment and take a few key experiences and rewrite it in the Vibe formula, and then practice it out loud with a friend, a coach, or a mentor. Any of that will work, but it needs to come off as a natural speaking style to you. And then if you can use it in your interviews, you are going to see a difference. And I've seen this work out over and over again with my clients. The last thing I'll leave you with is, your impact is real. Don't hide it. Don't downplay it. Own it, speak it. Let them see what you bring to the table, because you do bring a lot. And if you need help, I'm always a Calendly invite away. I will add the way to contact me in the show notes. Finally, I want to put in a plug for next month's workshop. Say It Like You Mean It, the workshop for women who are done playing small. Learn how to speak with power and confidence so you can get hired, promoted, and paid. Keep an eye out. Invites and announcements will go out shortly. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.